Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. John Borton from the Wolverine Magazine joins us today with a lot to talk about. Before we hear from him, let's get it started with a few of my thoughts. By now, you've heard reports that Michigan, not the NCAA, will be suspending Sherrone Moore for Week 3 against Central Michigan at home, and Week 4 on the road at Nebraska. That could be a night game. It's going to be a tough environment any way you cut it. According to reports, self-imposed recruiting limits could also be added very soon. Now, to say the least, a lot of you are not happy with this action. I'm hearing from you. It has been speculated that Michigan is doing this to placate or show the infractions committee that they are serious about the sign stealing allegations. Whether this will impress or change the NCAA's final verdict remains to be seen. I find it highly unlikely it will, and myself, I don't understand why we would or should self-impose any penalties at this point. But maybe I'm missing the big picture on this. I'm not sure. I'd love to hear what you think too. Give us a call at 313-351-2631. You can leave us a voicemail with your thoughts that maybe we can use on an upcoming show. That number again is 313-351-2631. Just tell us your name, where you're calling from, and then speak your mind. The line is open for your calls 24/7, and I'd love to hear from you. My guest today says we may or may not have a decision on this matter from the NCAA before the season starts. He says we will have a better idea, though, when Michigan meets with the infractions committee. That's in the first week of June. Joining me with his thoughts on that and much more is the longtime editor of the Wolverine Magazine, John Borton. So stay with us. Joining us today on the show is John Borton, senior editor from the Wolverine Magazine. Of course, a lot going on in the Michigan athletic scene. So, John, it's great to have you with us.
Great to be with you, Mike, as always, and looking forward to all that's to come, football, and we're talking about that a little before we started here, but, it's plenty up in the air as far as that is concerned, but some really exciting stuff coming down the road for that particular sport as well.
A lot to talk about, but let's start with what it seems everyone is talking about right now. Michigan reportedly self-imposing a 2-game suspension on Sherrone Moore at the start of this season. It's been all over the news the last few days. Your thoughts on that, John?
A couple. First of all, you understand that it is perhaps more serious than what the folks who were just shrugging it off and talking about Burgergate and things like that, because you've seen a couple of former coaches get the show cause issued by the NCAA, and now Michigan's agreed to suspensions of Sherrone Moore in games 3 and 4 against Central Michigan and Nebraska. So there were some things that went on that were not kosher with the NCAA, but at the same time, it's a far cry from what those have been that don't particularly like Michigan have been predicting in terms of, this is going to be, the hammer is coming down and Michigan is going to, have vacated games and all this sort of thing. I don't see anything like that coming down the road, but certainly it will be something for the present team to deal with in terms of its preparation and getting ready to go in the fall. It's different than it was last time when Jim Harbaugh got suspended, because he was able to coach through the week and right up until the game and just miss game day. In these situations, the rule has been changed. Sherrone Moore will not be able to help in the preparation or the game planning and all of that. I think he's got a staff that is spectacularly able to handle those things, but that'll be a change. He won't be able to be hands-on in the preparations in that CMU and Nebraska games. And, it's a big deal because Michigan needs to get off to a good start this year. That 5-5 beginning to last year was really deflating after a national championship season, and you're going with a new staff. You want to make an impression, and they just really struggled, and they need to get off to a good start this year. This is a setback in some ways, but I think it's also an opportunity for Michigan to assert itself. The leadership on this team is very good, I believe, and certainly guys like Chip Lindsey and Wink Martindale can handle their business as far as getting a team ready to play.
Well, since this news broke late last week, early this week, there seems to be several schools of thought forming when it comes to the decision by Michigan. Some people seem to think this is Michigan showing the NCAA how seriously they take the allegations. Then you have other observers who are disappointed because they see Michigan making a move that the NCAA might not even factor into their final decision. But right now, it's impossible to know what's going to happen at this point, isn't it?
It is. The rumblings are that there will be further either agreed upon punishments or self-imposed, or when it actually comes to the committee. I don't see any problem with what Michigan has done to this point because it's anticipating. It's not like they and the NCAA haven't talked and don't know what that side is thinking. I think they want to get ahead of this thing because part of this is about the degree to which you are cooperating to begin with, and if Michigan just completely digs in its heels, that could lend to the other side doing the same thing. So, as far as I'm concerned, you take the hit and you negotiate and you agree that, okay, certain things need to take place. And most of those, I believe, beyond the suspension would involve some cutbacks in recruiting availability in terms of when you're able to go out and what Sherrone is able to do on certain weekends and that sort of thing. To me, that is significant. Recruiting always is. But to me, I also know that our operation has contacted several of the recruits that are in the process right now, and they're shrugging this thing off. They're saying that will not affect me in the slightest in terms of my consideration of Michigan. It's like, hey, this is old news. This is old stuff that was taking place, and my decision will not be affected by what's going on. And to me, honestly, Mike, the biggest factor in how Michigan will recruit this year isn't being able to have every single visit opportunity that it might have had otherwise. It'll be going down to Oklahoma, winning that game. It'll be getting off to a 5-0 start or a 4-1 start, and showing signs that, okay, it's going to be different. This team is going to be in the hunt for a Big Ten championship and the playoff. And I think that will override everything when it comes to this, unless there was some kind of just a major penalty lockdown, and I don't see that coming.
We would like this to go away for recruiting for a lot of reasons. There be have a final solution, but in early June, I believe it's early June, Michigan meets with the NCAA Infractions Committee. Until that happens, there's just going to be speculation, which could impact a lot of things. Should we expect a final verdict on this whole sign-stealing saga this summer, or, depending on Michigan's response, maybe digging in? Could this continue on for months or even years yet?
Well, certainly if the NCAA took a position that was above and beyond what Michigan would believe to be deserved, I think at that point, then the pushback comes, and it's okay. We're going to take this thing to an appeal and to whatever links it needs to go to. I don't anticipate that happening because I think there's been the back and forth between the two sides that will argue against that scenario playing out. The fact that Michigan has conceded some things and self-imposed on Sherrone Moore's punishment, and we are hearing that they are willing to cooperate on some other things as well. But I don't think it's going to come down to that. But you never say never. And if the NCAA took a position that Michigan felt was so deleterious to the way they believe things are and the way they would like to proceed and think is just, then at that point you can see the fireworks and the dragging out of things.
Yeah, and I guess what we have to hope at this point is that NCAA and the University of Michigan representatives that have been talking all along during this investigation will realize the longer this drags out, it's not good for either side, is it?
No, it really isn't, because the more pushback the NCAA gets, there could be shown to be maybe overplaying their hand in this situation. And for Michigan, you want it done and taken care of. You want this as long as it's not going to be something that's a major impact. What Michigan wants is, okay, Sherrone Moore's going to miss a couple games. Yes, there'll be some other relatively minor punishments, but this needs to be about getting ready for the 2025 football season and getting this thing turned around like it was at the end of last year. You want to pick up where you left off down in Columbus and in that bowl game against Alabama.
Well, for better or worse, the story will cast a shadow over the program well into the summer as we approach the start of another season. And I know you guys have been working very hard at getting that great preview edition of the Wolverine ready. And from what I hear, the young man on the cover of the preview issue this year is going to make history. Bryce Underwood will be, I think, the first freshman to grace the cover of the preview edition. Is that right, John?
That is what is in the works, and that is what has been announced. And it's interesting from the standpoint of, I believe this young man has all the talent in the world, and I think he is the favorite to be the starter when Michigan opens the season, especially since Mikey Keene, who came through the transfer portal, was hurt and healing during spring ball and didn't play. We have no guarantee at this point that, in fact, Bryce Underwood will take the field first in that opening game. So we're a little bit out on the limb there, but at the same time, this is the number one recruit in the country a year ago, and he's at that spot where all eyes are on him. I think the size of Michigan's spring game crowd was directly related to I've got to see this kid, and what they saw was very lanky, big build, big arm, big talent, big potential, but a watered down spring game, as you're going to have, and a 12 for 26 throwing performance with an interception in this, he's got a ways to go. There's no question about it. But certainly, like I said, he's got tremendous talent, and he's shown an ability to lead on the field as far as all the things that you need to have correct in approaching the line and getting plays off and all that sort of thing. So, he will be on the cover, and we will see what kind of excitement he generates early in the season and throughout.
Well, he is certainly the focus for fans, as we all know, from the moment, I think, that he said he was coming to the University of Michigan. And you've got to think, maybe he doesn't feel a lot of pressure. He doesn't look like it, but he hasn't seen live bullets yet. And he has not been named the starter yet. Unless Mikey Keene grabs hold of it in the summer, it sure looks like if not sharing time, that Bryce very well could be under center for that first game, doesn't it?
That would be the expectation. He's kind of the odds-on favorite because he was the guy running things really all spring. He and Jaden Davis, but I think there's a good, clear separation there in terms of how they performed in the spring game, and generally speaking, upside between the two. So yeah, I think it's going to be Bryce Underwood, but I will say this: I think Michigan was very wise in going out and getting a very experienced backup, because when you've got Oklahoma in week 2 of the season down there, there might be a situation in that game where that experience is very necessary. If anything happened whatsoever with Bryce Underwood, he gets a little nicked up, or he is having a rough start, where a Mikey Keene could come in and really show the fact that he's thrown for 8,000 yards in college football and has those years of experience.
Well, John, spring practice recently ended, and as is always the case, we won't know what we have until we tee it up for real in the fall, especially on offense. We know there's a lot of potential there, a lot of talent, but there are a lot of question marks on that side of the ball, aren't there?
Yeah, well, there certainly were last year, and there are again. I do believe that the talent upside is certainly there. Starting with a Bryce Underwood, and I think the running backs are going to be really, really good. You show a Jordan Marshall, and he's with what he did in the bowl game against a tough Alabama defense that knew Michigan had to run the ball. That was very, very impressive. And I just think that he's going to have an exceptional year. The young man that Michigan pulled in from Alabama, I think also is going to do some great things. Older player experience situation where these two are pushing each other, and I really like it. What you have to have is an offensive line that is creating holes for them, and also being able to pass block and do the things that are going to take pressure off of Bryce Underwood. So, like I said, I think Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes, the young man from Alabama, are going to be dynamite back there. But so much depends on that offensive line. And, it took a dip last year. It didn't really prove to be the dominant offensive line that Sherrone more wants to see. They've got some young people in there. They could end up with a sophomore and a true freshman at the tackle, just based on talent and coming along. So I hesitate to go out too far on a limb in saying that the talent has upgraded enough that this offense is going to be significantly better. Averaged 22 points a game last year. I think it could be more in the range of 30 or so. And if you have that with the defense that Michigan has, that will be enough to win the vast majority of your games.
That is the good thing. The offense is going to be a work in progress. There's no question about it, but that's okay when you have a defense, or we think we have a defense like we have. And Wink Martindale has a lot of good things to say about his defense coming out of spring ball. Once again, you never know until live bullets start flying, but the defense certainly looks like the strength of the team deep on the defensive line. The linebacking core is very athletic. There might be some secondary questions at the corners, but overall, you got to feel good going into the season when you have a young kid under center at quarterback and an offense that's going to need time. That defense is going to, we think, buy that kind of time, isn't it?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, this is a defense that has Rayshon Benny said after the spring game. I asked him specifically about, you lost you had 2 defensive tackles that go in the first 13 picks of the NFL draft, and an edge rusher that didn't go far behind, and they acknowledge that, and they understand how incredibly talented Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant are. But at the same time, Rayshon Benny said to me, "Hey, this feels like 2023 in terms of depth and talent." He said, "We have reloaded." And when you hear all the defensive coaches saying, Michigan's defensive line is 10 deep. 6 defensive tackles and 4 edges that they feel like they can count on at any time. That's saying a lot. That is like 2023 in terms of a depth. And I think you're going to see that same sort of a position role where you have guys going as hard as they possibly can for a series or 2 series. And then all of a sudden you got the next group in there. I mean, it's like a hockey line changing in, and that keeps them fresh. That keeps a lot of heat on offenses. I think that their starting pair of linebackers are just as good as you're going to see in the Big Ten and in a lot of places. Ernest Hausman and Jayshawn Barham. I think Jayshawn Barham learned a lot about controlling the extreme aggressiveness with which he plays last year, so it won't turn into penalties or over aggressiveness that opens things up. I think they'll use him a lot off the edge this year and rushing the passer. That's a depth thing. Jimmy Rolder, I know they count on him. He's a senior this year, so he'll be good. And they've got some young guys coming on. But you mentioned the secondary and the cornerbacks. Yeah, there are some questions, but certainly guys like Zeke Berry and Jair Hill have been around. And Hill, in particular, is maturing. I think that he's going to be very solid at times. He's got to watch out for making the big mistake, and don't give up the big play. That's a mantra for every football coach. But I think that Michigan also has just a chance to be really dynamic and devastating up the middle in terms of if they get, as expected, Rod Moore back at free safety, coach on the field. We've seen Brandon Hillman, who is a bit of a headhunter back there in a clean way that I think is very, very good and can give you the physicality you want.
Well, there's a lot to look forward to, and we know football is going to be front and center until the season starts with the NCAA storyline and all of the preseason hype as it grows. But there are plenty of other things to talk about on the Michigan athletic scene, John. Dusty May's first season was a lot more fun and productive than I think most of us anticipated it would be. And it seems that in very short order, he has restocked the shelves, and it looks like the Michigan basketball program they could pick up right where they left off, couldn't they?
Absolutely. Just amazing. You've got one of the best in the business at putting together the additions you need through the transfer portal. We saw that a year ago. We have seen it already again this year. You get the best player out of the portal, and Yaxel Lendeborg, obviously still waiting to see what he's going to hear from the NBA. And if you're a Michigan fan, you hope that the word he gets back is you're very good, young man. You'll do much better if you take another year, because that year would be at Michigan and he would be a very dynamic player for the Wolverines. But to pick up Day Mara, who is the 7'3" kid out of UCLA, showed what he could do with a 22-point game against Wisconsin last year, and some of the other talent. You get the point guard out of North Carolina. I just think that those players, combined with what Michigan has been able to do in recruiting, is going to have the Wolverines very much in contention again for the Big Ten and for NCAA play next year.
Absolutely. A lot to look forward to there. And then over on the ladies' side, Coach Kim Barnes-Rico, I mean, she deserves a ton of credit. I guess we all don't talk about her enough. Because she had a lot of young players on this year's team. They made it to the NCAA tournament, exceeded expectations by far, didn't they, John?
I think so, yes. And when you have your best players as your youngest players, that is a situation where it's a two-edged sword, because You think, okay, they're susceptible to hitting the wall, or they are, will they hold up through the course of the season? Michigan's young players certainly did that. And then, the bonus there is the other side of it is, that they're going to be around for a while, or that at least that is the hope. So you're keeping this roster together. Your best players are going to be back. Kim Barnes-Arico has done an amazingly good and consistent job in bringing this program to, by incremental steps, up to the point where it can go for some of the top players in the country. And they got a couple of them last year, and looking for more. And certainly, I think that what she has done has been nothing short of amazing. It's fun for basketball fans around Michigan these days, because you've got a couple of top coaches and a couple of top programs.
Absolutely. As excited as we are about the men's program, we should feel the same way about Coach Kim Barnes-Arico and the ladies team. It's going to be a fun season to watch them develop, too. Hockey went into the Big Ten tournament just in April, ranked number 11. If they had made it past Penn State in the first round, they probably would have secured an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament, maybe. But it was disappointing how the season ended. But that, again, was a very young team, too, wasn't it, John?
Yeah, it was. And I think hockey is a little bit used to that because of the way things flow in that particular sport with losing guys. But, it was a bit of a step back this year. And that's always concerning. But at the same time, this team has got definitely some talent, and hockey is that sport. You look at those last games in down the stretch. You lose in overtime to Ohio State, and then the Big Ten quarterfinal series. You lose in overtime to Penn State at home, and it just the bounce of a puck one way or the other, and you could be talking about it as another tournament team and all. So they will certainly be highly motivated, I know, next year to come back and turn that thing around.
Well, I know it doesn't get the attention it should, but men's gymnastics hauled in their 7th national championship, winning the NCAA tournament last month. Made even sweeter by the fact they were able to do that at home. And it was fun to watch, wasn't it, John?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, you came right down to the final vault in order to determine if you're going to have enough points to make that happen. And those guys pulled it out. It was incredibly fun to watch. And just the tension of that moment when it was all coming down to the line, and you're seeing all eyes on your final gymnast. You just Paul Judah had everything on his shoulders, and all of a sudden he makes just a slight bobble at the end on his landing, enough so that it cast a little bit of doubt, and had everybody looking up at the scoreboard. And then they posted that, and you just saw the bedlam inside Chrysler Arena as the fans looking on realized, and the team realized that it was going to be number one again for the first time since 2014. But just an amazing job by this crew, and all kinds of fun and excitement on a well-deserving national champion.
Absolutely. It was, as you said, a lot of fun to watch. I know a lot of people don't follow gymnastics all year, or maybe even a lot, but if you tuned into that, it was a nail-biter. So congratulations to gymnastics. Still a lot going on the athletic scene, though, right now. Softball 34-19 heading into the Big Ten tournament in West Lafayette this weekend, where they'll face number 9 seed Wisconsin. Actually today, if weather permitting, we're recording on Wednesday morning. It's been a very, very competitive Big Ten this spring, John, but the ladies have put together a really nice season so far, haven't they?
They have, and yet you want to be playing your best ball at the end of the season, and the biggest games are to come. If it's a team that has played well enough, but needs to prove it at the end. Michigan, let's face it, Michigan softball fans got very spoiled for a very long time about what was to happen when the Big Ten tournament rolls around, when the NCAAs roll around, all of that. And, that's where you make your name and make everybody have a really good feeling about you. So this is, I think, at this point in this regime, this is a time that they need to make some things happen.
Baseball also having a pretty darn solid season, 30-17 overall, 14-10 in the Big Ten, and they had some fun against Ohio State last weekend down in Columbus. Put up some runs, just to say the least, didn't they, John?
To say the least. Pretty incredible. You're talking about opening the series after a postponed game with a 23 runs on the board, 23-1 victory, and then you're scoring 11 and 13, and that was amazing. That certainly couldn't have been fun for the home crowd down in Columbus, but boy, to go on the road and do that, those are kind of some football scores.
Yeah.
That Michigan was posting on Ohio State.
The men have a couple of weeks left, or I think a week before they get into the Big Ten tournament, so we hope for the best there, too. After spring sports wraps it up, but it's going to be quiet on the Michigan athletics scene. Anticipation of another football season will grow each month as everyone, of course, looks forward to the opener. So final question before we let you get away. As always, John, it's early May, and I ask you this, I think, every year, but a lot of us are eagerly anticipating getting our copy of the Wolverine preview issue, and I know you guys are working feverishly on that. Can you give us an idea when it's going to land in our mailboxes or be available at newsstands?
Anytime the first week of July rolls around, I start to anticipate and we see the threads on our message board coming on. I would say early to mid-July is usually when that thing will hit, and I think it's going to be a good one because we're talking about a rejuvenated offense, we believe, another really, really strong defense, all kinds of things that we'll pack into that preview magazine as well in terms of all the position breakdowns and all of the input from the offensive and defensive coordinators. We'll have a special for your mature fans that remember the 1985 season. It's been 40 years, so we'll be talking to some of the guys from that great Michigan team for a historical piece. Just a whole lot, labor of love, as Bob Buford used to say, as we put that thing together.
Well, can't wait, as always, for that to come out, because that means the opening kick is right around the corner. So until then, there will be, as we know, with the NCAA investigation, a lot of stuff to talk about between now and then, and we talked about some of that today. But we thank Senior Editor John Borton from the Wolverine Magazine for joining us today, and as always, John, being so generous with your time. So we appreciate that and look forward to another visit very soon.
Very good. I appreciate you, Mike.
On Quick Hits today, I can tell from my inbox that the Sherrone suspension has most of the fan base worked up, and for good reason. Everyone has an opinion, and I would like to hear yours. Our listener line is open 24/7 for your calls at 313-351-2631. That's 313-351-2631. Just state your name, where you're calling from, and then let it rip. We'd love to start sharing some of your opinions on upcoming shows. So once again, give us a call at our listener line, 313-351-2631, and sound off. It's open 24/7. That does it for now. We're on our summer schedule of 2 shows a month through July. Weekly programming will resume in August as we prepare for the start of another season, and it is not that far away, believe it or not. We'll be back with our next show the week of May 19th, so mark it on your calendar. Have a great Wolverine week, everyone. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Until we meet again, take care, and as always, go blue. Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!